What up, y'all? Still Robot Watcher, grab the binoculars, and I'm back with another video. You know what it is. Keep pounding, baby. We got another one. It's so crazy. I've never been on this YouTube channel where the Panthers have been 500, 3-0 at home, and coming off a 2-game win streak, possibly going into a 3-game win streak as we face the only winless team in the NFL next week without their best offensive player. Just saying, this is nuts. G-Ho was last week, so if my voice sound a little weak or off, you know what it is. I'm recovering, you feel me? I'm off work today, trying to get my voice and energies back up. That's all it is. But let's get into the tape. We're not going to waste no time, man. If you like the video, do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. Let me know what you want to see next. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, man. First pass play of the game is going to be about a 24, 25-yard chunk play. A deep pass right here. And I want to point out how I love how Dave Canales has began to kind of marry the gap scheme run that we've been leaning into a Rico Dowdle into the pass game, where when we're running play action, you're still getting the same shifts, you're still getting the same pullers from your offensive line, and that's killing the linebackers and killing the disguise of the defense. So what we're looking at here is just going to be a regular cover 3. I'm not even going to show you kind of how the defense looked in it, because it's just your regular cover 3. If you don't know cover 3 by now, I'm going to maybe put it up for a couple other videos. Just go look it back at the pass. We're going to run play action. We're going to motion, not motion. We're actually going to pull across this tight end and James Mitchell as we run that play action. And the levels is very simple. Big corner from Bryson Tremaine, who I got to point out, really, really good dirty blocking, dirty work type of guy. I see the value that they've seen in him in the offseason is starting to show up. But now that we actually have receivers and we're not relying on him to be a perimeter winner. But big corner from Bryson Tremaine. You're going to have another almost a shorter corner, but it's almost like an angle route from Mitchell Evans. And then the other part of the level, which is just underneath, is going to be Rico Dowdle just taking that play action and swinging out. And on this play, you see, look at the linebackers on here. They're going to get a little bit of lost in the shuffle with all this movement. They're going to suck up, pause. Then they're going to fade back into the route. But I'm assuming Bryce Young moved that middle linebacker, number 53, with his eyes, because he kind of jerked over right before that, almost that angle route or that corner route from Mitchell Evans came open. But just a really, really good throw, putting it on his back shoulder so he didn't get hit by that corner who was going to be recovering, or that nickel who was going to be recovering, and give him a chance to, you know, to make a little bit of yak. But that's not really Mitchell Evans' game. But really, really good play to start the game. I wanted to point out how good this concept was, because if you're a defensive coordinator, if you're a defensive player, you look at the Panthers and all you see is Bryson Tremaine, 3 tight ends, Rico Dowdle under center. This is screaming run. There's no Teteroy McMillan. There's no Xavier Leggett. There's no Leggett, sorry. There's no Hunter Renfrow. There's no Jimmy Horn. You're going to assume that this got to be a run. Now, I just talked about how on the last play, those gap scheme, pulling that tight end across, pulling those guards across on those play actions is really killing the defense and giving them a lot of misdirection. It reminds me a lot of what Miami does with those orbit motions and things like that to deceive guys on their run and pass game. But we're doing it in our own creative way. Since we're much more of a power team, we're using it like it's power. We're motioning the tight ends instead of the wide receivers when it comes to that play action. So here, you're going to have Xavier Leggett motion over, but he's going to be the screen man. He's the guy that's the primary man to get the ball. After that, you're going to have Tommy Trimble come right across Bryce Young like we've been doing all game on those gap schemes. You're going to get a fake. Boom, kick it to Xavier Leggett, because the offensive line basically is zone blocking to the outside. And here's the difference with this screen versus the screens that Xavier Leggett has been getting before. I like this one a lot more because you keep him clean while he's getting going. The bubble screens where he has a free lane, a free man running at him, where he only has 1 blocker versus 2 or 3 guys, that's not his game. You got Jimmy Horn for that. But I do like getting the ball in his hands stationary and telling him to run straight while being untouched. I like that a lot more. Now, do I think somebody like Jimmy Horn or even Teteroy McMillan could have took advantage of this play a lot more than Xavier Leggett did? Probably. But I'm not going to talk about that because Xavier Leggett did his job on this play. This is a really, really good executed screen. Really good run out the catch, breaking 2 tackles, and not even really getting tackled. He just got pushed out of bounds. So really good play for Xavier Leggett. I want to give him credit on this. And I want to say much better play call and use of your personnel from Dave Canales. Really that simple. But let's move on. All right, let's finally talk about it, man. We finally got Tedero McMillan in that. Hold on. Let me shout him out. We got T-Mac in the end zone, so you already know what it is. So what we got here is we're going to get a cover 2. I'm only going to write up one side of the field because there's no need to even talk about the second side of the field. This is a half field read. It's going to be a cover 2. I mean, this can't be a full field read, but it got open half field. It's going to be a cover 2. You're going to have XL and T-Mac on your as your outside receivers. XL's in the slot. We're going to be running a bow concept. What that means is you're going to have a curl. It's not a bow concept, it's a fake bow concept. And I'm going to tell you what the safety sees in the cover 2. We're going to have a curl from Xavier League, which means the linebacker is not able to get depth against the dig if there is a dig behind him. One thing we run with Tedero and McMillan a lot is digs. One thing that Bryce Young is very good at is throwing digs. I've talked about this in Tedero and McMillan's draft video where I talked about I compared him to Puka. We already know that, especially if you watch this channel, you already know that. So we're going to look like, this is going to be a double move, but it's going to look like a bow concept. So as a safety, I have that in my mind that this guy, number 4, has been phenomenal on digs. This guy, number 9, is phenomenal throwing across the middle, especially to him on digs and digs before that. So when I see that Xavier League sits down and I see that Tedero McMillan is starting to break inside, I'm going to trigger because nobody's going to guard that dig except for me. The only part is, that's not the play that we're running. Tedero McMillan is going to stick his foot into the ground, and Donovan Wilson is going to be kissing the turf. And he's just going to be wide open in the back of the end zone. It's really that simple. Great pass from Bryce Young. Great play call from Dave Canales. This was the perfect call in this scenario against this coverage. This basically just one-on-one. And I'm not even mad at Donovan Wilson for losing on this route. That's what you would expect if you watch the film. Like, oh, I know what's coming here. But that's when you throw in those counters. Great tendencies. I wouldn't be surprised if this was somewhat of an option, maybe. That, hey, maybe if you see, because if you're looking at the video, the cover 2 is opening up to this, almost this post, not post corner, but this post from Hunter Renfrow in the slot. So there would have been nobody to guard that dig. So I see why he bit so hard. But just a great route. Just so smooth. Such a smooth route runner for a guy that's 6'5". That is Tedero McMillan. Amazing touchdown. If you do subscribe to the wide receiver's first touchdown is going to be a big indicator of how successful they are in the league. If you're a subscriber of that theory, what better way can you ask for him to get his first touchdown other than making a defensive back touch earth on a 20-yard pass? I mean, really, really good play, man. Let's move on to the next play. We ain't going to sit on this too long. I actually do want to point out also, Bryce Young, I didn't talk about this in the first play. Bryce Young is doing a really good job in this game of standing in the pocket and throwing with a great base, whether the pocket is collapsing or not. When you look at this throw from the end zone angle, you see Akeem Ekwonu is right on Bryce Young's lap. You got Josh Nijman, who's also in Bryce Young's airspace. He can probably feel both of those guys, but he doesn't panic. He doesn't step up. He doesn't move. He just keeps a good base and lets it go. Really, really good pass. I just wanted to point that out because he did the same thing on that Mitchell Evans pass. I didn't get to speak on it. He was in between the guys. He stepped up and threw a really strong pass. And we talked about how his footwork caused that interception last week with XL. We see now with strong footwork, he's able to push the ball to all parts of the field. Maybe not a 70, 60-yard pass, of course, but he could throw it deep over the middle. He could throw it deep outside. He could throw it deep from the far hash. We'll talk about that later. Really, really good touchdown. Let's move. Canales, let's give you your credit. Bryce Young, let's give you your credit. Jimmy Horn, we're going to talk about his impact. Really, really good game once again from all of these guys. I just talked about in that past play how Bryce Young is able to get the ball to all parts of the field, deep, intermediate, wherever, when he has a strong base, and how that interception last week, which I talked about in the video, was caused from his base not being strong, having both of his sliding up and one of his feet being off the ground when he threw it. Here we go. We're going to motion Jimmy Horn from the X position inside like a little orbit route and back out. He's basically just running a big wheel route. You're going to have Tedero McMillan. We're going to talk about him in this play. He's going to be running a big comeback. Then you're going to have a crosser from Xavier League, which, if Bryce wanted to, he could have threw a hot to him and maybe let him run in stride, but it didn't matter. This play, 2 of these routes were open. As simple as that. You're also going to get a good play action from Rico Dowdle, which you're going to have Tommy Tremble almost be a puller outside, like it's a little flip screen pass. Really good kind of nuance to put into play to occupy the other side of the field if you're going to throw that crosser to Xavier League, which he didn't. But let's talk about the actual play. As we let it run, This is a far hash throw. 33-yard completion, probably over 40 air yards on a line. Wide open. I'll give it to you. It is wide open, but that's a really, really good ball right there. Look at that. Feet is great. When he stepped up, he took a hitch to actually set his feet when he stepped up this time and let it go as he's being hit. That's the difference from what we saw last week to this play right here. Now, Jimmy Horn could have kept your feet in bounds. We know that Bryce Young didn't throw a perfect ball to hit him in stride. We know he kind of struggles throwing the smaller receivers, so he did have to go up and get it. But regardless, Jimmy Horn, you stay in bounds, brother, you might be going to pay dirt. You feel me? You might be going to pay dirt. Bryce Young, you put it on his, on his pinkies, he might be going to pay dirt. But really, really good play. I just wanted to point out with this play also. Look at Teteroa McMillan on this corner route. This is going to be a regular old cover 3, as I drew up in the play before this. The problem with this cover 3 is they were so convinced on every play that Teteroa McMillan is the main read, which he is on most of the times, that they were consumed deeply in the film room with stop 4, stop 4, stop 4. Look at Trayvon Diggs on this comeback route. He immediately is basically playing off man coverage against Teteroa McMillan. He's not even looking at that wheel route from Jimmy Horn. I don't think he glanced at Jimmy Horn until the ball was already going over his head in this play. You got number 27 who's slowing down because he's like, oh, they're going to be throwing this comeback to Teteroa McMillan. We've seen it all year. Let me get out there. You got 59 who's also, once he kind of clears that crossing route, he's sprinting back over to close that gap in between him and whoever the next defender is for that did come back to Teteroa McMillan. You got 3 guys almost triangulating him, focusing on him, and nobody cares about Jimmy Horn. Impact of a rookie receiver is crazy. We got a real wide receiver 1 here. This is the stuff that you see when guys are a wide receiver 1. He was a focal point, obviously, in that film room to stop him. And technically, they kind of did do a good job. Only 3 catches, 29 yards, 28 yards. 2 of them was touchdowns, though. We'll talk about the second one. But just overall, great concept. Great way to use him as a decoy. Great throw. Great mechanics on that throw, especially while getting hit. What a dot. What a dot, man. Let's move on to the next play. All right, next play. What did I say? Using that gap scheme to your advantage. This is very interesting to me. This reminds me a lot of that play that we ran to Miles Sanders to get that big touchdown against Atlanta in week 7. This reminds me a lot of that, but it didn't necessarily, it wasn't the same exact concept. Once again, Teteroa McMillan is going to be running a big comeback route that's going to draw the defense attention away. You're going to have, who is this, Mitchell Evans or Tommy Trimble? One of these 2 guys is going to be a check down who's just going to come across the middle of the field on a little drag. Now, what I do love about this, you're motioning Trevor Etienne from the X receiver position, the Z receiver position, across Bryce Young's face, back out like an orbital motion, like it's a screen. Then you're going to fake it to Rico Dowdle, but you're going to have a pulling guard. So it looks like that this is going to be another gap blocking power run, basically running power, with Damian Lewis pulling across Bryce Young's face. A lot of stuff going on. And I haven't even got to the 2 routes that actually won on this play. There's just a lot of eye candy for linebackers and safeties to look at. That is a sign of a good play design. Not only that, a good sign of a good play design is 2 routes that win at the same time for touchdowns. We're going to get that fake from Rico Dowdle. He's just going to run almost like not even a big wheel route, because he's leaving through the B gap between the tackle and the guard. So I guess you could say a big wheel route or a big go. I'm not sure exactly what you would call that. But Xavier Leggett is going to be running this crosser or this post across the safety's face. And he also gets butt naked on this coverage. I mean, as we let it run, you can see all this eye candy just gets everybody confused. They don't know where they're looking in this cover 3. Guys are dropping, then they're dropping back out. The corner is not running with was running with T-Mac, not even looking at the running back coming out of the backfield. Neither are the hook defenders. He just runs by everybody, and he's wide open for Bryce Young to move up, make a play. And I will say Bryce Young's movement in this pocket also probably helped with those linebackers coming down, because they think, all right, he's probably going to scramble. But Rico Dowdle's just left wide open, nobody to touch him. But not only that, I do want to point out, if you look at the top of the screen, out of this slot crosser, or kind of, yeah, it's kind of a post, Xavier Leggett beats that safety. Donovan Wilson had a tough day. I partially wish Bryce Young holds it for not even half a second on that scramble out. and could hit Xavier Liga, not even half a second, if he just looked deeper downfield and saw Xavier Liga had Donovan Wilson stumbling, beat him by 5 yards, I wish, just being picky, just being selfish, I wish he could have hit Xavier Liga for that, to really keep his momentum up. Because at that point, he would have, what, I want to say 3 catches for like 50, 60 yards and a touchdown after coming off a really good game last week, which was like 2 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown. I really would have liked him building the momentum to do that, especially after that little lateral fiasco that he had. But regardless, I just wanted to shout out Canales on this. What a great play design. All this eye candy is just confusing the entire defense. They don't know what to do. Easy touchdown. I told y'all it takes a minute to get Canales warmed up. But when he's warmed up, it's there. It's that simple. And now we're seeing it come together in these last 3 games. Really the last 3 games. I'll say that. Now, if I am going to give Dave Canales credit for the good stuff that he's doing, I also have to criticize him when he does have a play that I don't think I like too much. This play right here on this sack, which was just an overall disastrous drive, period. This play right here, I'm not that big of a fan of it. I feel like he did such a good job of making non-staticky route concepts throughout the entire game, even after this, that I was just confused where he got this one from, where it kind of killed the momentum. Because I want to say we were scoring, both teams were scoring on like every drive before this drive. Luckily, the Cowboys also lost a lot of momentum right after this drive. Both of them was trolling in the 4th quarter. But the trolling started with this play. What you're going to have basically is you're going to put Xavier Liga in motion, but he's just running a comeback. Teteroy McMillan is also running a comeback. And you're going to have Tommy Tremble or Mitchell Evans, one of the two. It is Tommy Tremble. He's going to be running a comeback. So all static routes, no check downs, and they're running a blitz. So Bryce Young just gets sacked. I think we should remove. I mean, Xavier Liga did get open on this play technically because Trayvon Diggs is still worried so much about Teteroy McMillan. He's kind of playing in between, but he's more focused on him. So if Bryce Young has more time, he could probably get to that 3rd read and throw it to Xavier Liga. It's going to be a very hard throw, though, over the linebacker in between the corner, who's obviously going to have time to, get over there and make a play or at least tackle him. But, I mean, Rico Dowdle just missed this block, and it was over then. But still, I'm not a big fan of this concept. I would like to see something a little better out of Canales when it comes to the crunch time. But he's overall well. I just want to provide all the way 100% fair criticism and praise. There is no homer bias here. Let's move on. Now, funnily enough, a play where we could have used some static routes is on this one. I don't have any beef with this play. I just want to kind of give my ideas of what I think could have made this better and possibly been a touchdown. But basically we want to have Jimmy Horn. He's going to be running that fly/orbit motion. Yeah, it's a fly motion. As somebody corrected last week, shout out to my guy Taco Bell Panthers. It's going to be that fly motion from Jimmy Horn. That's going to get the linebackers to pull the rope. We talked about how impactful he is by just being in the game and running across the line of scrimmage. It's that simple. All the linebackers is going to pull the rope. After that, you're going to have a fake from Rico Dowdle. He's going to just run into the flat. You're going to have basically 3 crossers or a corner and then 2 crossers on the field. What I will say about this, if we get Xavier Liga to sit down and be a spot route, this is a touchdown. Also, if Bryce Young can kind of just go outside of the concept and just throw it hot, I know that's not necessarily his job to do, as I'm letting the play run for y'all. I know it's not necessarily his job to do, but if you look at it from the end zone angle, which I think I did record, but if you look at it from the end zone angle, there was a sliver of space to throw it hot to Xavier Liga after that linebacker crosses him to go get Rico Dowdle. It would have been a touchdown, but if he sits down right there in between that linebacker and that safety, easy spot touchdown right there. Nothing wrong with it, but just a good. I just wanted to add a little bit maybe to the play, give my opinion slightly on what we could maybe see later in the future of say, hey, if a team's playing to play the same way, Xavier Liga, you sit down and Bryce Young's going to throw it to you instead of Rico Dowdle. It's almost going to be like a fake or kind of like a decoy. Hey, we're decoying or using Rico Dowdle as a decoy to maybe fake it to him. Turn your eyes, boom, that spot's going to be wide open. So, yeah, good play overall, though. I did like this play call. We just didn't work out necessarily. I think if somebody like Jonathan Brooks or especially Trevor Etienne was getting this pass, I think we probably would have had a little bit more success on it. Probably would have got a first down. But still, no beef at all with this play. I just wanted to add that. So let's move on. All right, shout out to Renfro. We know that Renfro is a danger in the red zone. We've seen it this year and in his whole career. It's basically the only thing he's been good at so far for us, but that's okay. You're going to have a big, not even a big, it's going to be a crosser slash drag from Tommy Trimble on the backside. There's going to be play action. You're going to have a corner from Xavier Leggett. You're going to have that wasp motion from or orbit motion from Hunter Renfro, maybe to get the ball out to him. But what it's going to do, they're going to once again pull the rope. As you see him go into motion, you see all of the linebackers kick, not linebackers, but the defensive backs kicking over their responsibilities. Hey, you move here, you move here. It's man coverage, not man coverage, but you match up well here. I want to say it is man coverage, actually. You kick over, you kick over. What that does is that moves this slot defender over the T-Mac. When that moves that Donovan Bland, whoever to say, Donovan Wilson at safety, who's going to be over T-Mac in the slot, he's going to try to go across the field to Hunter Renfro. Once Hunter Renfro turns back and moves, slot defender can easily pop back out the XL, not so much for the safety. So ball snaps, as we can see, T-Mac is going to fake once again like he's running that dig over top of the route or running the spot, and then just push off of him almost like a double move once again and get an easy touchdown. Really, really good play design. I love this in the red zone. I want to see more of T-Mac out of the slot in the red zone. We'll probably get a lot more touchdowns on things like this. It just makes it easier for him to be the primary read when he's much closer to the line for some reason. But really, really good route. Really good faking inside, like he's dropping that shoulder, squaring up the DB or squaring up his feet, dropping that shoulder like he's going to run across his face. And then just a subtle push off and going back outside. Really good touchdown. But I also want to point out, once again, Bryce standing strong in his base. He's going to get outside. Rico Dowdle once again misses another block. His pad blocking has not been that good, but it's okay. He's going to keep both hands on the ball, just like last week on that pass to T-Mac. Step up in the pocket, throw it with guys in his face. Easy touchdown. Not an insane deep pass or anything, but insane pocket movement and good fundamentals to have his feet up under him. And that's what we drafted him to do, being that extendability. A lot of guys who are statues might not be able to get this play off. Bryce, with that quick release and good pocket presence, was able to. He knows that, hey, I need to rotate over to get this throwing window over here, make that linebacker move towards Rico Dowdle, and boom, I'm going to get up out his way, throw a dot right with a defensive tackle in my face. Really, really good play from the quarterback. Really good play from the wide receiver. Great play call. Great concept. Dave Canales was in his bag all game. But let's move on. My bad, y'all. If y'all feel like the camera angle keeps changing, I done knocked this over 6 times while recording this, but you're not crazy, I promise. It's moving ever so slightly. But let's get into the run game finally. What a great day for Rico Dowdle once again, and what a great day for Dave Canales in scheming these guys open on these gap schemes. What we're going to have here, T-Mac is going to run almost a big end and around. You're going to have Bryson Tremaine tight end, basically Ben Skoranek, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, all of those big bodied receivers that are basically tight ends because they block just like one. Bryson Tremaine is that without the receiving chops. And that's okay because it brings value to this offense. So we're going to look at this here. He's going to come across. He's going to be your puller. All the other offensive linemen are blocking down. We're going to get it to Rico Dowdle. I want to point out Bryson Tremaine, 1, for sealing off this linebacker on this block. Really good block. But 2, look at how Tommy Trimble destroys this backside defensive end. Not backside defensive end. Sorry. He destroys this front side defensive end. He takes him for a ride. It's a reason why on these other parts of the thing that I drew up, there are little scribbles at the top. It's a flat thing at the top of the line. And Tommy Trimble's is an arrow because he took Buddy for a ride. I think Tommy Trimble was only supposed to seal him outside so that Rico Dowdle could kind of kick it in between him and that new gap that Tommy Trimble and Tremaine opened up. But he was just able to carry him upfield. Rico Dowdle was just following him like he was the lead blocker. I mean, I think that's Sam Williams he's beating up like that. Or Marshawn Neal. I could be wrong. I don't know who 94 on the Cowboys is. That ain't my team. But whoever it is, he just got beat up. Simple as that. And we're going to get a big first down out of this run. Really, really good play. Angry run from Rico Dowdle, as always, being able to break tackles and run through arm tackles. Really good play. And I just had to highlight Tommy Trimble and Bryson Tremaine because they were doing this all day and they've been doing this for the past 2 weeks. No block, no rock. And that held true today because our wide receivers were blocking. Tedero McMillan, somebody that I don't feel like, my bad, I had to move the camera again. I don't feel like has been the craziest blocker so far in his rookie year. He was blocking today. What we're going to see, once again, we're going to pull Tommy Tremble like we're running the gap scheme. But what it's going to be is a quick toss. You're going to pull Damian Lewis outside of Ike Ekwonu, who's blocking down on Sam Williams again. You're going to have Austin Corbett work up to the linebackers. It's so insane to run a not a counter, but run a toss play where your center is not even pulling, but he's just working upfield, and now you have 3 lead blockers. Damian Lewis is going to pull, like I said, Austin Corbett is going to work upfield, but T-Mac is going to take number 36 for a ride on this play. No block, no rock. Let's look at it. Great misdirection. The whole defense jumps to the left side, and boom. Now we got 3-on-3. Rico Dowdle, if he could just keep his feet, if he doesn't kind of get nicked up and killed by the turf monster, he keeps his feet. You're looking at Mitchell Evans downfield at blocking 14. There's nobody in front of Rico Dowdle. He's going to outrun that defensive tackle every time. This would have been 6. So really, really good run concept. Rico Dowdle could have had an even better day than he did if he just didn't get tripped up. I don't know if maybe he tripped on the back of Austin Corbett's feet or T-Mac's feet. It might have been Austin Corbett's feet as I'm looking at it. But I just want to point out how great the schemes for this run has been since switching from Chuba to Rico Dowdle because of injury. Chuba is much more of your zone runner, power guy. He's not a very explosive, dynamic back. Neither is Rico Dowdle, but he has a lot more athleticism, so you can run a lot more of that gap scheme with him. It'll be interesting to see how the diet is, shaping up once Chuba gets back, because right now Rico is running. That simple. Let's move on to the next play, though. That's the time for that's a talk for another time. If you know, you know. But let's move on to the next play. All right. Sorry to disappoint y'all, but this is gonna be the last play. This is a very interesting concept to me because the way that the handoff is, it looks like it's going to be inside, some type of inside gap run. But then Rico sticks his foot into the ground, which looks like it's by design, and follows that puller to the outside. So interesting. But on this play, as we draw it up, you see that our guy, Brady Christensen, is going to pull across the line and kick all the way to, what is this, the D gap, I want to say? He kicks all the way to D. You're going to have Bryson Tremaine, once again, that tight end wide receiver hybrid. He's going to work upfield, block that cornerback. You're going to see Ike Ekwonu. He's going to work upfield outside, or the inside shoulder past Sam Williams. Not even going to touch him because not Bryson Tremaine. Because Mitchell Evans just seals him off so perfectly for this outside run. He's going to work up to this linebacker. Now it's up to Rico Dowdle just to beat the safety. Ike wasn't able to get all the way up to the linebacker, so it didn't completely get to that. But what an interesting design. Like, usually when you're running a gap scheme and you're running power, that Brady Christensen pulling, you're going to let one guy free like Sam Williams so he can, boom, make that a big gap and bump the gap over. But for him to pull all the way to the D gap to go get Trayvon, what's his name? Yeah, Trayvon Diggs. Very interesting. He wasn't able to get there because Trayvon Diggs is a little more athletic. But still, it still had the same effect. Rico just bounced it inside, past Ikem Ekwonu, and that safety was just able to make a good play. But really, really good run scheme. I loved how Dave Canales called the plays this week. You got to give him credit. I told y'all, stop talking about firing him. He starts slow. And as we can see, he's ramping up at a really good time. I'm just saying. All right, man, that's the whole video. I feel like this one's going to be a lot shorter than last week because last week was like 34 minutes or something like that. Something crazy. But overall, really, really good scheme from Dave Canales. This is just a complete game. Most complete game we've had. And I just said that last week. This is the most complete game we had on both sides of the ball, to be honest. Really good day from T-Mac, even though he didn't get the counting yards. Really good day from Bryce Young. I think this is actually his third best game. I know the stat sheet will say it's his best game, but I do think that last week he was better. He made a lot of great throws last week. He was slightly better against Arizona than he was this week because he was just making inhumane throws then. This week he made some great throws, but it was to a lot more open guys. He didn't have to necessarily put it into the windows that he had to last week and in Arizona. This is a really, really good game for him still. So, got to give him credit when it's due. Dave Canales is heating up at the right time. Next week, we play the 0-6 Jets away. We're going to be on the road. Going to be playing in MetLife. Kind of scary. Protect everybody. But we're going to be playing on the road in MetLife. This is a great team to go pick up your first road win against and come back as an undefeated team at home on a 3-game win streak versus the Buffalo Bills. I don't know, but if we end up 5-3, we got to have some conversations about this playoff run in the trade deadline. I'm just saying. But it's been a real ball watcher. Put up your binoculars. If you like the video, do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the YouTube stuff. Turn on your post notifications so you can see when I post every week. I'll see you next week. Aggie Pride. Happy Geo, baby. Let's get into it, man.